Welcome back to Taktik, and today we're going to take a look at optics. So the other day we said that we just got in a new batch of Holy Warrior optics. Well, today we're going to take a closer view at basically the magnified optics and why would you choose one over the other. So we're going to start off with the one that's the most popular. It's not a magnified optic per se, but it is an optic you are magnifying. So typically it's basically the combination of any type of red dot with a replica magnifier. So this kind of setup is very popular because you may already have a red dot and you just want to magnify for outdoor events to make it easier to trace babies and or to see things ahead of you. And this is why this type of magnifier, which you can set aside, is pretty popular. Now, what's great about this setup? Well, like we mentioned, it's because you already have your red dot. And so if you head into a CQB environment while you're in that same event, well, it's easy to basically transition back to just your red dot and get you don't even need a decent cheek weld. You see your dot, you hit your target, and that's pretty much it. Now, the issue with magnified optics is or magnifiers, they tend to have pretty abysmal eye relief. Eye relief is essentially what we call the distance between your eye and the ability to have a clean, crisp picture in the optic while having a full eye box. So that means no shadowing around the lens here. So if I look through here, I have a shadow, I have barely anything. I have to get this close, and here I am. I am at basically the best eye relief I can get, the most sharp. The most eye box is at that point. Could be very uncomfortable if you're wearing goggles or if you're in a situation where you have to acquire a target rapidly and shoot. So I'm here and I constantly need to readjust. So that's the magnifier. So in all honesty, whether it's a replica or a real one, this issue persists amongst the magnifiers. But if I transition back to the red dot, I have no problem of wherever my head is placed, as long as I see my red dot. These things have minimum parallax, so the red dot usually is on point. We move on to the next model, which is a fixed magnification optic with a red dot on top. So in this case we have a replica ACOG with a functional fiber optic and etched reticle. It's a chevron type, just like the Marine Corps used to use. The situation with this guy is that, again, the eye relief isn't so great. I have to be at this position to basically get a clear image. Now, the other issue with this situation, while the red dot is excessively easy access, so I don't need to basically do any manipulation of any controls. I just need to lift my head a bit, find my dot, find the target, and fire. The problem, on the other hand, is my height over bore. So I have this much between the center of my red dot and the center of the barrel. Now that could be great in the sense that I can set this optic to have basically a point of impact at, let's say, 40 feet for CQB environments. And I can set this optic to have a point of impact at 150 feet or 120 feet or even 200 feet if your gun can do it. So what makes that interesting is that I can transition from an outdoor situation where I know my hop-up adjustments and the centering of my optic will make sure that I hit a target far. And again, I'm right here to avoid any eye box. So depending on what you're wearing, it could be comfortable or uncomfortable. And then I transition to somebody closer, lift my head, and I know that that point of impact is really right where I've adjusted it. So that's basically a two optic combination into one system. You might say, well, why not have a fixed optic and basically an angled red dot? You could do that. Just be aware that depending on how much you've adjusted your hop up, you can basically lift your BB off to the side as you angle your weapon. Next, we have the Spectre replica, the Spectre DR. This is probably one of the more interesting optics. It's basically a 2 zoom level, so a 1 time and a 4 time. And what's great about these guys is they have wide fields of view. So basically, I'm set up here. I am at 1 time. I have both eyes open, and I use it essentially as a red dot. Now, the issue is that I have a big red cross in terms of my luminosity, but that's not too big of an issue. Now, I want to transition outside. I basically hook the lever, push it forward, and again, the very clear image, very wide field of view, and magnify that 4 times. Now, what could be the issue with this one? Well, while the eye relief is more comfortable, it's not as close as the other two. You have to be at a very fixed position on your stock to get a clear image. So, for example, if I basically am in a CQB environment, I've set it to 1 time, I see my guy there, I'm about to lift, fire. Well, if I'm not really where I'm supposed to be, which is here, I'm getting a lot of shadowing, I'm getting a lot of double images. It's very disorienting. So there's some adjustment time versus, for example, the ACOG with the red dot, or just having a simple red dot would mean that it's a quick adjust, fire, and that's it. Versus this situation, it's adjust for a longer period of time just to get your right image, and you go. But a very clear and very wide field of view, it's a great optic. Now, what's become more popular these days is basically what's called a short dot, or a low power variable optic. So this particular model from Holy Warrior goes from 1 to 5. So we've added an adjustment tool here on the side. So I'm at 1 power right now. I swap over to 5. Oops, I just released the mount. So that's really easy. And this is my eye relief. You can see I'm crazy far away from the optic. At 1 and at 5, I have no issues. Now, at 1 time, can I quickly acquire a target in an indoor environment? Yeah, it's not bad. It's better than the Spectre, but still requires some level of adjustment, knowing where your cheek weld is at all times to get that proper image. But because the eye relief is so big, so long, you can generally get through this without having to interfere with the eye box. So this is probably one of the better setups there is available now, except it's pretty heavy. So beyond that, be sure to protect your optics, because these are investments. Setups like this can cost anywhere from $165 to $300 to, well, a combination of $200 there. So depending on the type of optic you may want a different type of protection. So for example, for an EOTech, we have these slip-in protectors. You might want to also protect the actual lens of the magnifier, considering it's out of use at some point. For an ACOG like this, given that it has a very strange shape in the front, you might want a stand-up Lexan plate, which also works for the Spectre. But for the Spectre, we can also do custom cut lenses to just insert into the lens here, and that's it. And for things like this, like the LVPO, we can basically custom cut a lens cap, and that's it, protected. So let us know what your favorite type of magnified optic is. This was Gabriel, signing out.